Do you want to take a guess what's in the egg?
Yoshi.
Oh my god.
Yeah? Did I guess it?
Oh. Yep.
Cause you
That.
know,
How did you
Nintendo.
know? Cold Beet Soup is a podcast for casual fans who want to explore lore and fandom rabbit holes in music and gaming.
And are sad sometimes.
Hi everyone. I'm having a great day.
Wonderful day.
I actually had a really rough day, but I am super excited to talk about Zelda further. We're gonna talk about the darkest timeline, sad timeline.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, for the ones who didn't listen to the episode before, I highly recommend you go back and listen just because this time, now that Vicky knows the characters, I'm not gonna like because you'll see Impa again, you'll see Ganon again, Link and
Who?
Zelda. So, like, you already know who they are. I'll just
N-
explain others
who?
that pop
Who?
up. Yeah, so this was fun. I gotta go. All those hours of research, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no,
I'm just like,
that's
wait, who's that again?
like, wait, what's the Legend of Zelda?
Yeah. Wait, is that
Imagine,
Link?
imagine. I actually, I'm so close to my breaking point today that it might actually like
Let me help
make me
you push
cry.
ya.
Like, hey, you know the in our intro where we say and we're sad sometimes? This is it.
Hell yeah.
This is the and we're sad sometimes. I'm gonna share my screen. So I won't be
Ooh.
able to see your face from now on. Just remember, so you can make all the funny faces
Okay,
you
now I
want.
don't have to smile. Ugh.
Just oh, finally,
Oh, finally.
the facade is gone.
Oh, now I
Um,
could be sad.
yeah. Well, do you like the title slide? I used the same picture as the other slide deck, but I just made it black and white.
You should have had also in the background all around me are familiar
In like
like
small
rain.
font. Yeah. Rain effect. Um yeah, I should have. That would have been great. Where we did leave off, just for
Mm.
quick recap, we stopped after Ocarina of Time, where the timeline splits into three. We have the adult timeline, the child timeline, which I'm still unclear if the next episode I'll only do one of them or both of them. Because for this particular timeline, for example, there are 7 games that we're going to cover, as you can see on this slide. So it just depends
Oh,
on how many games there are and like how complicated they get. Um, a couple of the games that we haven't discussed yet, the storylines are a little involved, so I just want to make sure I cover those thoroughly. So we'll see. That's a TBD. This particular image too. So remember how we talked about Hyrule Historia, that like book that Nintendo published? It
mm.
was like that green one. So it turns out they published a newer one that they just called the encyclopedia for Zelda. So they tweaked the timeline in this newer one. The beginning portion that we covered didn't change. However, this portion that you see, they shifted a couple games. So that's why I put that particular version up, just because they made some changes. This is the most up to date, officially Nintendo published thing. So that's what I'm gonna go off of.
Okay.
So even though like you see 7 games, which it sounds like a lot, I will say the last 3 games go really quick because they're pretty straightforward. So let's get started. So this is like a what if timeline. It's probably the funkiest timeline because it's all kind of like theoretical, because in Ocarina of Time, what you see in the game is Link defeating Ganon. This is a
Mm.
scenario where Link does not defeat Ganon, so that's where we start. Link lost. Ganon is still fucking shit up, like, so they gotta do something. So we have the 7 sages still from Ocarina of Time. You see them in this slide here. You only see six. I couldn't
Yeah,
find
I
a
was
good
gonna
picture
say.
with, yeah, I couldn't find a good picture with Zelda. Zelda is the seventh sage. So, those are the seven. Um, they seal Ganon and the Triforce away within the Sacred Realm. Now, the Sacred Realm is actually no longer the Sacred Realm because Ganon, since he has the Triforce, he can, of course, change things to how he wants. And he changed the realm to, something really dark and twisted because he has a lot of greed and a lot of evil in his heart. So this sacred realm is actually now the evil realm. So that's like
Okay.
sad point number one. No more sacred realm. It's evil. So that's like, yeah,
Dang it.
dang it. So there's that. But they seal him away. Unfortunately, the seal does not hold. Sad point number two. So they have a couple years of peace, but then the seal actually starts weakening and people start to the greedy people especially the Triforce starts beckoning to them. I think this happened I think it was the era of chaos that we talked about in the first presentation where like people got tempted by the Triforce, so the same thing happened and the seal was weak enough that like people could actually pass through to the other realm, but once they entered the other realm they never came out. But what would come out was an army of Ganon's demons. So like
Oh.
people kept disappearing, demons kept showing up, and then eventually the seal just like breaks and all this evil is released. The king of Hyrule is like, "Hey, seven sages, do your job and fix this seal." So this picture actually demonstrates this whole event, which is known as the Imprisoning War. I think it's actually fan art. There's not a lot of artwork on this particular event, but they have the king has his own knights, which you can see on the left. So they're protecting the seven sages as they're trying to like seal Ganon and all this, just all these demons away. So they manage to do that. They restore the seal, um, and this time the seal holds. So not so sad. But the sad part is like a ton of people die. Like a ton of the knights perish in this, trying to keep Ganon away. So they're cool for now. They're chill until this guy. This guy, his name, so he shows up many years later. We're actually going to
Mm-hmm.
start talking about a game called A Link to the Past, where this guy is a dark wizard. His name is Aghanim, and he's actually Ganon's alter ego. So he's like Ganon split apart somehow. I know you like Japanese, so something that came up in my research
I know
was,
you like Japanese.
well, I know you like anime, right?
Yeah.
That's in Japanese.
Yeah.
Alter ego is Bunshin in Japanese. Bunshin. So
Ooh.
Aghanim is Ganon's Bunshin. He shows up, brainwashes all of Hyrule's soldiers, murders the king. And then the sages at this point, they already have descendants. So their descendants are known as the maidens. So there's seven of them, one of them being Zelda. Six of them he kidnapped and made them disappear into the evil realm, all to try and break the seal of Ganon because he thought, okay, well, if the seven sages were able to create the seal, maybe if I take the sages and put them back in, their descendants can break the seal, right? So he took the six. Zelda is still in this realm, but she's in the game starts where you see her like in a prison cell and she somehow has telepathy. That's like never explained, but she just does. And she
Oh,
like
okay.
yeah, she just like calls out to Link because I watched so part of the research too is I'll watch cutscenes from the games because
Mm-hmm.
I've played them, but it's been a while, so I gotta, rewatch.
Right.
And like Link's sleeping in his bed, and she's like, "Link, help me! I'm captured in the castle." And like, It's like, okay.
And then she
So
whispers, "The blood moon rises," and he's like, "Not again."
he's like, shut up. He plugs his ears. She dies. It all goes to chaos. Like,
The end. Credits roll.
honestly, though, there's gonna be someone on Reddit that talks about that as a potential timeline. Like, what if Link never responded to Zelda? Because that's what makes this timeline so funky, is like
Mm,
all of these are what ifs, and there is that possibility of like there are actually infinite possibilities, right? Because, yeah, these games happen, but other things could have happened. Like having this what if timeline just kind of opens up the opportunity to have many what if timelines, not just the
mm.
one, which that's getting to like Marvel level like parallel
Right.
universes
Mm-hmm.
and um but anywho, yeah, so she calls out to Link. In this game, Link is living with his uncle. So actually Link wakes up and he hears, her calling. But his uncle has a sword and shield and he's like, don't leave the house. I have something to take care of. So he leaves and then Link, you play as Link, so you're not listening. So he just goes and does it anyways, sneaks into the castle to try and save Zelda, and that's where he finds his uncle dying. I guess he got attacked by, one of the knights or something. And his dying uncle's like, "Here, take my sword and free Zelda." So Link does that. He frees her from her cell, and then helps her escape. There's like a secret passage in the back, and he's told that he needs to get the Master Sword to try and defeat, Aghanim and in order to do that, though, he has to get three pendants of virtue, which you see on the slide here, which the pendants consist of power, courage, and wisdom. So the same three pendants that coincide. Remember those goddesses in the beginning? Din's the
Mm-hmm.
goddess of power.
Yeah.
So it's like the same parallel shows up again. You even see the same colors, red, blue, green. So they just kind of implemented it in a different way. So he goes, throughout the game, you get the pendants. Then he draws the Master Sword. Then he goes to fight Aghanim. I just put up a still from the game because I wanted you to see the graphics. It's from the 90s. So this is him fighting Aghanim. Unfortunately, he is too late to stop Aghanim from using Zelda to break the seal. So in the game, like a portal actually opens into the other realm, and Link goes in there, and he goes to rescue the six maidens. He goes to rescue Zelda. Him and Zelda get to Ganon's tower. Um, Link kills Aghanim, and he kills Ganon in battle, and so he stops Ganon from trying to get to Hyrule. And in the very end of the game, he just makes a wish on the Triforce to restore everyone who died to Ganon's evil. So it was like sad timeline, but kind of came back because now he brought everything back, and now the royal family has the Triforce at this particular time. So that ends A Link to the Past. So Ganon's defeated, and you know how children yearn for the mines. Well,
Of
Link,
course, of course.
like the children who yearn, Link yearns for some adventure. He's like, man, it's peaceful, it's boring. I want to leave. So he wants to go and train. So he sets sail. He like goes and trains, gets some training. He comes back, and on his way back, there's a storm, and it leaves him shipwrecked. And he wakes up on this island, which you see in the picture, and it's called Koholint Island. And this is the setup of the game known as Link's Awakening. It's that game. It's the game where they did the chibi like
Yeah,
Link.
is that the game? Do I own it?
You probably do. It came out on the Switch. It originally came out on the Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Then they added color to it, so then they put it on the Game Boy Color, and then they remade it for the Switch and made it all chibi-like. So it's a cool game. But yeah, he wakes up on this island. There's this is called Mount Tamaranch. This is the mountain, and there's the egg on top. Do you want to take a guess what's in the egg?
Yoshi.
God.
Yeah, did I guess it?
Oh. Yep.
Cause
That. How did you
Nintendo.
know? Oh my God. Could you imagine though if Yoshi's like Yoshi, and you're like, what the
Oh, like,
fuck?
oh my god, the crossover we wish we had.
Yoshi comes out and it actually starts, makes the volcano erupt and it kills everyone. And that is the darkest timeline.
And then credits roll.
Anyways, it's not Yoshi. It's the windfish. The windfish, it's
Oh.
it's yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Um, I did purposely on the slide include how it looks on the like Game Boy version and the Switch version, just so to see the comparisons, you know, how
Looks
the
sassy.
graphics change. I know, right? It's got the bedazzled eyelashes,
Mm-hmm.
like, okay.
It's like, I
Um,
see you.
yeah, I seen
Mm-hmm.
it. I seen it. And so this the windfish is interesting. The windfish is a deity in the game, so it's like some god, I guess, that exists. And the windfish made Koholint Island. It's actually you're actually in their dreams. So the windfish was dreaming and created this whole island. So Link's like, well, I want to get back to reality. Like, I don't want to be in your dream. So basically, and nobody knows like how he got in this dream or anything. That's never explained. It's just that Link stumbles into the windfish's dream, and now he's going to try to get back to his own world. Um, so remember how in other games, like Link usually has some sort of a guide, like he had a Fee or Fi, Navi, you know,
Mm-hmm.
someone that like helps him along. So in this game, it's actually an owl, which I thought you would appreciate,
Aww.
because owls are your favorite animal. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Link is
Actually,
gonna
they're
love
not,
this.
but okay.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding.
oh,
Imagine.
I was
Imagine.
like, I brought you an owl from Africa.
Imagine I have all those owl statues and I actually am terrified of owls.
That's why you keep them. It's to face your fear. You actually lie awake at night staring.
All I hear is whoo, whoo. I'm like, oh,
And
ah.
I'm always like, "Oh, how'd you sleep, man?" You're like, "Not great." So, so the owl in this game
Mm,
tells him how to get out. So the owl's like, "Hey, the way you get off this island is you got to collect the instruments of the sirens, and then you can wake up the windfish." So these are the instruments on this slide. There's 8 of them. They coincide with the dungeons in the game. You will see the number 8 come up again. Um, I don't know why they chose this number. Maybe like game length wise, that's the amount of dungeons that made sense. But yeah, so you go through the different dungeons, you get these instruments, and
mm,
so he does that. He gets to the top of the mountain and he plays the song. They call it the Ballad of the Windfish to wake him up. And then when he does that, these guys show up. They're called Shadow Nightmares, and these are pretty cool because they're the final bosses in the game, but they take on like 6 different forms. So
mm,
and the forms that they take on are bosses that you fought previously in the game. So like in one of the dungeons, or there's actually a split. Some of them are from Link's Awakening and some of them are from Link to the Past. So they're like reiterations of bosses that you saw before, but like in shadow form. Like in the slide, you can actually see on the right the guy. It kind of looks like a pig. I
mm.
think that one's like Ganon's shadow. They also have Aghanim's shadow, but none of the ones in this slide particularly look like Aghanim. But it's just kind of cool that that's how they decided to make these bosses. I remember the boss fight being challenging because it's like 6 rounds, you know, so it's quite a bit. I think that's how it was. I'm pretty sure. It's been a while. You guys can tell me in the comments. Zorlda, you're wrong. So, once a Link beats the Shadow Nightmares, he wakes up the Windfish, and when the Windfish wakes up, Link wakes up, but he wakes up and like since his ship is wrecked, he just wakes up like holding onto a piece of driftwood, and he
Oh.
looks to the island, and like the island, as you see in the slide, just starts disappearing. Like, and he's like, "Oh, was this even real?" And as he thinks that, the windfish flies off into in the sky with some seagulls. So he's like, "Oh shit, it was real." So that's that. It does not, now that I think about it, because this question just came to my mind, I don't know what happens in between this game and the next game. Like how he gets back somehow to shore. Because the next game that we're going to talk about, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, he's not in the water anymore. So I'm not really sure. I apologize
Probably
for that gap.
swam.
Yeah, I guess he swam or something. There are, I will say, there are a couple gaps. There's another one I'll bring up where they don't really explain what happens. And I think that just, again, like that's a big pain point for a lot of Nintendo fans was like, this timeline is messy
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of flimsy stuff. Like some people even argue that them making an official timeline kind of was a mistake because it not all of it matches up perfectly. So then people have to like try to fill in the gaps. And also, before they made it official, people theorized all the time, and then that gave them the creativity to like take the games as they saw fit, right? So I don't know, it's just one of those things. But so apologies for that. I missed that gap, but somehow he gets back to Hyrule, I think. Yeah, he's back in Hyrule. So he does make it back to Hyrule. Um, the main antagonists in this game are these two lovely ladies who are 400 years young. They are
Slay.
slay. They're twin witches. They're called the Twin Rova. It's Kotaki and Koume. Kotaki's on the left, Koume's on the right. They supposedly actually secretly lead the Gerudo tribe, and if you remember, the Gerudo is where Ganon comes from. And they,
Oh.
yeah, so they keep their long lives by using black magic. So one of their schemes was like, they knew Ganon was defeated, and supposedly they're his surrogate mothers. This is brought up in, it's brought up somewhere. I just don't remember where, but they're like
Okay.
known as the surrogate mothers, not his like real mothers, but surrogate. And
Mm.
they're like, well, we got to bring him back. So they got to do a ritual. You know, witches be
Yeah.
witching. So this ritual, they gotta light three flames. You like this because it's sad timeline. It's the flame of destruction, the flame of sorrow, and the flame of despair. But hold on, you also need a human sacrifice.
Yay!
Darkest timeline, woohoo! So, so they gotta do that. Oh, side note, they actually show up in Ocarina of Time as a boss. So they are
Oh.
a boss after one of the temples. Yes, and this is one of those messy things where, well, in the game, Link defeats them. But so then it's like, okay, there's two main trains of thought that I saw about this. One was, okay, they just faked their death. They weren't actually dead. They just wanted to, pretend they were dead so Link wouldn't follow them. Because they are known as being kind of crafty, sneaky, so that does kind of fall in line with them. The second one is like, okay, but we're in a big what if timeline. So yeah, we know that Link didn't defeat Ganon, but what if he didn't defeat these guys either? Like, what if he never even made it past all the dungeons?
All right.
So that's kind of the like, again, they show up again, but they showed up in this other game, so it's kind of the one of those inconsistencies yet again from Nintendo. Um, so yeah, they're trying to get the three flames. So that's a lot of work for them. So they have their minions do it. They have these two minions. One of them, the guy on the left, his name is General Onyx. He's the General of Darkness. Very scary. And then the
Wow,
girl
what a
on,
name.
yeah, it's kind of lame, but it's fine. Uh, and then Varen on the right, she's the Sorceress of Shadows. So, these flames are located in two neighboring kingdoms to Hyrule. One of them is Holodrum, and the other one is Labrina. And all we know about these kingdoms is that they're just nearby Hyrule, they exist, and that's that. Because, Hyrule's just a place.
Yeah.
other places in the world. So, um, the way the game starts, Link visits Hyrule Castle and the Triforce calls to him, so he goes and touches it, and as soon as he touches it, it transports him to Hollow And when he gets transported, he's like, huh, huh, where am I? And he finds this group of traveling performers who you see demonstrated on the slide here. And they were watching this dancer named Din. Now, Din is the same name as one of the uh, goddesses. And she looks like the goddess, but Nintendo has like never officially confirmed that it's either like her reincarnation in human form or something like that, but the parallels are there. It's just not set, they haven't said anything. So in this, she's not like, a divine goddess, but she's like a dancer. So she's dancing in the game and she's like, "Dance with me, Link." And Link's like, "Okay." So he starts dancing, and then all of a sudden a whirlwind comes, whoosh, 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 and it takes Din away. And turns out Din is not just some chick, but she's the Oracle of Seasons. What does that mean? That means that she controls the seasons, and now that she's gone, all the seasons are out of whack.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, it's big doo doo for everyone in Holodrum. So General Onyx was the one that's kidnapped her. Link is on a quest to save her and restore the seasons to balance. So in order to do so, he has to collect 8 essences of nature. So those are the things you see
Wow.
on the left. Yep. So there's 8 dungeons. He goes around. He also gets this on the right. It's called the Rod of Seasons. Very creative name. Which allows him to change the seasons to whatever he wants. He gets
Oh.
that. I think it's after the first dungeon. So he does the first dungeon, and the spirits of the 4 seasons. They look like 4 little Navis. So they got the four. It's like red, green, yellow, and blue. And they're like, oh, this will help you in your quest. So Link uses that. And then he goes and defeats General Onyx. He rescues Din. After he does so, he's actually transported to Labrina, the other place. Um, and the thing that, and this is like very darkest timeline, he stops Onyx, like he stops Onyx, but he was too late in stopping the flame of destruction from being lit. So it still gets lit anyways. So it's kind of like, oh, well, at least he saved Din, but yeah, that kind of sucks. So, anywho, then he goes to Labrina. He finds Impa, who in this game is like a old lady. I got her up on the slide here. So he's just like traveling through the forest, and she is attacked by monsters, and he saves her. And then she's like, "Oh, there's this girl named Nairu. I heard she sings really well." If you remember, Nairu was also the name of a goddess, but again, in this game, she's just like some chick who can sing really well, whatever. And she's like,
Okay.
"Yeah, I want to go hear her sing." "Oh, you have this crest on your hand," which is also in the picture. So he's got like the little Triforce on his hand. And she's like, "Oh, that's the marking of a hero." And Link's like, "Okay, weirdo." And she's like, "Yeah, I've been trying to get over here, but there's this big rock and I can't move it. Can you help me?" And Link's like, "Okay." And the rock has like a little Triforce symbol on it. So he pushes it over and then they walk back and Nairu's just like singing to a bunch of animals like a Disney princess. And they're all like, "Wow, that's so nice." And then all of a sudden, a shadow comes out of Impa and shoots into Nairu, who turns out it's not just some chick. She's the Oracle of Seasons. Oh, jeez. And then
Oh
turns
man.
it turns out that Shadow was Varen, the sorceress, so she used Impa's body to trick Link to get to Nairu, and now she's going to use Nairu's time traveling abilities to go back in time and change the past. So what she does is travels back in time, finds the Queen of Labrina, and influences her to like build this tower, like almost like an evil lair type thing. Um, This was really funny because I was watching the cutscenes of this, and like Link travels back through time to like see what's happening, and there's like people you can talk to, and they're like, I don't know, weird stuff has been happening around here. And he walks in like when they're building the tower, and he's like, oh, what's going on here? And he's like, I don't know, but the queen's working us to death. You can look around, but you'll probably get yelled at because you're not working. And like you see this guy off to the side with a pickaxe, like so funny because like this is an older game, like from the I want to say 90s, so it's like the graphics are not great. So he's just like "Tuk, tuk, tuk," with
Excuse me,
the
90s isn't old? Excuse me?
It's not old, but for video games, the graphics were not as advanced back then. So like the programming, he's just going boom, 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 boom with the
Okay,
pickaxe,
I'll give you
like
that.
it's
I'll
not
give you
like
that.
animated. It's just like it was, I don't know. I thought that shit was hilarious. Anyways, so in this game, instead of the Rod of Seasons, he has
Oh,
the
eight.
Harp of Oh, yes, you're right. There are the eight essences of time, so which he has to get those, and then he has the harp of ages, which allows him to travel through time, through the past and present. He finds the harp in a secret room in Nairu's house. So he gets the essences. He challenges Varen. He drives Varen out of the body of the queen and defeats her, but he was too late. The flame of sorrow was lit. Oh, jeez. So now they only need one more flame. Oh,
Oh,
jeez.
jeez. Oh,
Oh, jeez.
oh
So,
no.
so, Twin Rova, this part of the story, I'm like, why the Princess Zelda decides to show up to Labrina, and Twin Rova's like, "Oh look, our human sacrifice! How perfect!" Like, why the hell did she show up? That's why I'm like, "Bitch, you are so dumb! Like, why?" So they're like, "Great, we can start the ritual. We can light the flame." But Link actually challenges them, and he kills them in battle. But at the
Oh.
very end, they're like, "Oh, well, we'll just sacrifice ourselves. We'll be the human sacrifice." And then they use their bodies instead. They revive Ganon, but since the ritual wasn't done properly, he
Mm.
comes back as like this beast. Like you see in this slide, he's kind of like pig-like, like he's just kind of not in his right mind. So Link has to battle him. He defeats him, restores peace to Holodrum and Labrina. So it's like, yay! Now, I did want to point out one interesting thing, because we had Din and Nairu. Furore would be the third Oracle in this game. So they were actually going to make a third game, but they realized that it was too hard to link all three games together. So Furore does show up. I want to say it's in Oracle of Ages. Um, and she is the Oracle of Secrets, where I'm pretty sure, because I haven't played these two games I haven't played, so I don't know as well.
Mm.
Um, but I'm pretty sure she just, if you need like hints on stuff or you need to know where to find stuff, she'll help you do that. But originally, she was supposed to have a bigger role in the game. So,
Mm.
anyways, justice for Furore. No, I'm just kidding.
Make that third game.
I agree though. Like even tying the two together is kind of like they have a lot of similarities. I think
Yeah.
doing it a third time would kind of be like, okay, that's
Mm.
enough. So yeah, he leaves Labrina by boat. Now, this part too. This part, there's not a lot of information, and it almost makes me wonder if they are going to eventually put a game during the slot to explain what happens. All we know, and all I could find in the lore, is that at some point the Triforce gets split apart. Ganon
Okay.
somehow gets the Triforce of Power again, but it's like sealed with him again. The Triforce of Wisdom is with the royal family, and then the Triforce of Courage, the location is unknown, but it's said to be in the heart of the eternal hero. Wow. So something that shows
Aw.
up a lot. is wisdom. The Triforce of Wisdom is usually with the royal family slash Zelda. Courage usually is with Link, and then power is like almost always with Ganon. That's kind of
Okay.
the, and you'll see that. You'll see that more. I'm bringing it up now so that I don't have to explain it later.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So we're gonna go to one of my favorite games, called A Link Between Worlds, which I believe was on the DS, or was it on the Switch? Oh, I can't remember, but I loved it. So this is like centuries after Ganon's defeated, all of a sudden this mysterious wizard. We see a lot of wizards come in messing shit up. His name is Yuga, and he invades Hyrule and he starts taking the descendants of the seven sages and turning them into paintings. And everyone's like, "What the?"
Oh.
So that's what who you see in the slide. He's got a painting with one of the sages on it. Now, Link in this game, he's just a blacksmith's apprentice, um, but he gets, thrown into the situation and he tries to stop Yuga, but Yuga is too strong. So he succeeds. He takes all the seven sages in painting forms, and as we remember, Zelda's one of the sages. So in this
Mm.
game, Zelda is in a painting, and he retreats back to his world, which turns out he comes from Lorule. We talked about Lorule a little bit. I put its map on the left, but it's basically a parallel universe to Hyrule. The only thing is they don't have a Triforce anymore, so the kingdom is in like kind of crumbling and falling apart. Um,
Mm.
so Link tries to go after him. Um, since Yuga is going through like cracks and stuff, Link uses this bracelet that's given to him by the guy you see on the right. His name is Ravio. He's like some mysterious, he just kind of shows up, but he's like a peddler. He opens up his own shop in the game, but he gives Link this bracelet, and this bracelet allows him to turn into a painting. So that's one of the cool things in the game is like, oh, I gotta get to that spot over there. And you like put yourself on the wall and you walk along the wall and you like grab rupees and you pop up over there. So it's really like
Oh.
it's cool. I loved the game because I like the puzzles that came out of it. Um, so yeah, he's traveling. He's trying to get to Yuga. Um, well, he as you can see, the slide's a bit of a spoiler. He's too late. So Yuga Yuga uses the seven sages and his magic, and he releases Ganon. And he has the Triforce of Power now. So now that he has all this, he joins with Ganon, and he's like, "Let's take over Hyrule and Lorule." And Link's like, "Ah, geez, I don't know how I'm gonna stop these guys." But it's okay because this this lovely lady shows up. She is Princess Hilda. She is the equivalent of Zelda in Lorule. I love her design. I when I first saw
Yeah.
her, I was like, she is so right. Isn't she like,
Mhm.
oh my God, she's gorgeous. That's why I put
Mhm.
Zelda on the slide too. I was like, we can obviously tell who we like. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. But she's just so I love her so much. And you can see even like on the front of her dress, Zelda's Triforce is right side up, hers is upside down. Like I
Mhm.
like the darker colors. I just love her. So she shows up, she actually protects Link and she's like, "Hey, you need to rescue the seven sages if we're to stand a chance against Yuga." So I think after the ceremony, the paintings are like scattered everywhere. So he goes around Lorule to find them. So he does that. He rescues the seven sages, and then when he does that, he actually awakens the Triforce of Courage in himself. So it was in him all
Aw.
along. Aw. So now he's got
Wow.
how sweet. Don't worry. This is gonna get really juicy. So he's gonna go back. Now he's going back to the tower to fight Yuga. And this is what he runs into. So
What?
Hilda has the Triforce of Wisdom. Um, and she's like, actually, surprise, surprise, I sent Yuga to capture the seven sages and release the Demon King. sorry.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. Because she wants the Triforce. She's like, ever since our kingdom lost our Triforce, it's gone to shit. And like, I'm just trying to bring our kingdom back. So hey, I need the Triforce of Courage. And Link's like, no. And she's like, Yuga, you take it from Link. So then Yuga tries to fight Link, but he loses. And then Yuga's like, F this noise. I'm just going to take the Triforce of Wisdom from you. So he takes the Triforce of Wisdom from Hilda and turns her into a painting.
Nice.
I know I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh, but yeah, so that happens. But Link has Zelda to help. So Link and Zelda fight Yuga one more time. Hilda is like, that's real nice. You got the Triforce there. And actually Ravio comes in and Ravio's like, "Hey, he just saved our butts. Like, just let it go. Like, we're not gonna get this Triforce back, so just let them come back to their world." And she's like, "Oh, fine." So Link and Zelda come back to Hyrule through like a little crack in the wall. And now that they have the full Triforce, Link has to make a wish, and his wish is to give Lorule a Triforce. Aww. So that's
Aww.
it's so sweet. So you
How
see that in this
nice.
slide. I couldn't get a better. I wanted a better quality picture, but yeah. So you see Hilda on the left and Ravio on the right. You find out. I think it's at the end of the game. Ravio is actually the low rule equivalent of Link. So he puts on
Oh.
a mask, yeah, because he's like super timid. You know, Link's like courageous and will just like Ganon's like, super powerful, but he just fights him anyways. Well, this low rule equivalent is kind of a wimp, so he like hid his identity, but he does kind of guide Link along. So yeah, that was a
Hmm.
another plot twist in the game, but it's just such a cool game. I love it so much. And now we're gonna get into one of the worst games that I've think I've ever heard of. Because this game, I've never played this game, but I
Oh.
was just like, what the heck? So it's called Triforce Heroes. Link leaves Hyrule and he ventures to another kingdom called Hytopia. So you see a little picture of that on the left. And there's a brigade of witch hunters, and they're like, we have this evil witch. Her name is Lady Maud, and it's this lady on the right who honestly slays. Um, and what she did is she cursed the princess. So this Hytopia has a princess. Her name is Styla. How does she curse her? She curses her with an irremovable brown jumpsuit. I was like, what were they high? And that's a picture. I had to put the picture up because I was like, sad timeline. Like, what the?
Such a set. I like the cat.
Yeah, that's why I put her up. So basically, what happens is Link and two other guys that look like him. So, like, you see on the cover, it's like Link and then a guy Link dressed in red clothes, Link in blue clothes. But they get all the pieces of her outfit. It's called the Ladies Ensemble. And they get the final piece by beating Lady Maud. And then it turns out the witch has a younger sister, this lovely lady on the right. Her name is Madame Couture. And I was like, oh, I gotta put her on the slide because she has this cat, and the cat is so cute.
Yeah.
So cute. So she puts the outfit together. Once the outfit's put together, Princess Styla is freed from her cursed One Piece. Game is just stupid. I'm sorry. Like I
Yeah.
guess I shouldn't bash it until I try it, but it
Yeah,
sounds
try it.
bizarre.
Collecting clothing.
Yeah. Anyway, next slide.
Yeah.
So after this, we're kind of in an in-between period before the last two games. So, once the Triforce is recovered, Hyrule is in a golden era again. The kingdom's thriving because they have the full Triforce. That's why I put this picture of Link up with a bunch of rupees because I was like, yeah, they got money, they're rich, and it just goes on and on until the most recent king who sees his son and he's like, I don't think my son's worthy of the Triforce of Courage. So he decides to hide it in the Great Palace. which is just, big palace. And once the king dies, he puts a spell on Hyrule that um, once a young man is worthy of wielding the Triforce of Courage, a crest will appear on his hand, probably Link. So the king also tells Zelda where the Triforce of Courage is because he's about to die, so he should probably tell someone where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the prince then becomes the king, and he has this magician by him who I again, they don't explain the magician a lot, but what happens is they're questioning Princess Zelda about the missing Triforce because they're like, "Tell us where it is," and she's like, "Nuh-uh, you're not worthy." And the magician's like, "Screw you," and puts her in eternal sleep, which you see in the slide here. So she's just in like Sleeping Beauty style. Um, so it makes me think the magician all also makes me think like does maybe he works for Ganon, maybe he's another alter ego, but he's kind of a mysterious, they don't explain him very much, but those are just kind of the things that I theorize about him.
Okay.
Um and then the king feels really bad, so he no wonder. And then he puts her in an altar in the North Castle, which is actually uh, also what you see in the photo. It's like her being placed in the altar. And this is an interesting tidbit. He makes it law that all royal women are to be named Zelda, so she's known as Princess Zelda 1. Now, this is interesting because I don't know if you remember in Skyward Sword when they were like, "Oh, the tradition's going to be for all the women to be named Zelda." And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Well, this happened already. So why?" And this was another like kinda to me it's kind of flimsy, but whatever. But like tradition and law are different, right? So like it's tradition to name her, but it's not required by law to name her, which is the best explanation I could find. Again, commenters, if you know more than me, please. Because I tried to find I think I gave up after like 5 or 6 articles. Like I was like, okay, nobody really knows, and we're just making stuff up. So I'll just leave it at that. So um now, the Triforce of Power and Wisdom are passed down, and the king, but the Triforce of Courage is forgotten as time goes on. And also, since the kingdom doesn't have the full Triforce, Hyrule kind of starts to decline as well. And this leads us into the first Zelda game that ever came out in the 80s. So I put that up too
Oh.
because I wanted to see the graphics from the OG Zelda. And this is another point of contention where they never explain how Ganon comes back. Because the way the game starts is there's an evil army led by Ganon attacking Hyrule and they steal the Triforce of Power. So they never explain, and I could not find an explanation like how he comes back. It just happens. Um, so again, maybe another game could fit in here timeline wise. I don't know. But so he steals the Triforce of power. Zelda, who is the descendant of Zelda 1, is like, ooh, we got to keep the Triforce of Wisdom away from him. So she splits it into 8 pieces and hides the pieces throughout Hyrule. And she sends Impa, who in this game is her nursemaid, and she's like, "Hey, you gotta find some hero or something. Like, find someone who's got the courage to defeat Ganon because he's just like wrecking shit." Um, and Ganon gets pissed, so he imprisons Zelda, and then he also sends a search party to find Impa because he's like, Impa knows things, so she can give me information. Well, Impa runs into Link, actually, Link runs into Impa, I should say, because Link in this game is just a traveler. So this is also like he could be a descendant of whatever, but he sees Impa getting attacked, and he saves her, and then Impa just kind of gives him the rundown. She's like, "This is what's been happening, and it's kind of messed up." And he's like, "Okay, I'll help." So he gets the 8 pieces of the Triforce, and then he fights Ganon, which you see in the slide. See, even they made the
Yeah.
dungeon like a skull shape. It's
I was
pretty.
like, dang. I saw when I first saw the slide, I was like, oh.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Ganon's kind of funky looking. So Yeah, he defeats him, and then they declare him as a hero. Hooray! So all is good. So Ganon's gone, and this leads into Zelda 2. So the sequel game, which was not as well received as the first one, but I did want to put up on the slide. I really like the cover art. Like, I think that sword looks sick as hell. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not the
It does.
Master Sword, but it just looks cool. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Anyway, so Ganon's gone, but his minions are still wrecking shit in Hyrule. So Link stays behind. He's helping clean up the mess. And he turns 16 in this game. So I did look this up. Supposedly in the first game he's 10 years old, and in this game he's
What the
16.
fuck?
Yeah, he's just a kid, man. He's just a kid. I mean, in Ocarina of Time he was a kid too. And they're like, "You're not old enough," so they like seal him away.
They're like, bye, see you
Yeah,
later.
yeah. And in those 7 years, Ganon just wrecks shit. So yeah, but so he turned 16 and then he gets that glowing Triforce mark on his hand. So Impa's like, "Oh, this is the hero we've been waiting for." So she guides him to the North Castle where Zelda is. He opens that door using, the mark on his hand, and they see the sleeping Princess Zelda 1, and Impa kind of gives him the lowdown on what happened there. And she's like, "Well, it's clear you're the hero, so here's 6 crystals and an ancient scroll." And Link's like, okay. And the ancient scroll tells him that the Triforce of Courage is hidden in the Great Palace. And in order to access the Great Palace, he has to place the crystals in 6 other palaces, aka dungeons, and defeat their guardians first. So he goes and does that, and then the final boss is actually his own shadow, which is kind of cool. So he fights
Mm.
that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Shadow Link is a thing. We're not covering it today, but it'll be in a different timeline where you'll see it more prominently. But he gets the Triforce of Courage, gets to the castle, reunites the Triforce, and Zelda wakes up. And then there's peace in Hyrule. So that's it. That's the darkest timeline.
Yay!
That's like how it ends officially. I have not brought up.
Oops.
I'm gonna close my presentation. I have not brought up uh Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom because when I started researching, I saw that those games take place years after all these other
Oh.
games. So, I will research that further, where that flows in, like if I can put it with one of the other timelines or if it's kind of like its own thing. I still have
Mm.
to, because right now it's really just theory. Nintendo has not said anything. So, but
Mm.
yeah, that's the darkest timeline. It's kind of a lot of games, but
Yeah.
they're different. Like you have Agahim, and then you have Yuga, and then you have the jumpsuit.
I think that's my favorite game.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Mm.
I read it and I was like, were they?
Like, who came up with that? And then they were like, you know what?
Yeah,
That's gonna be a good seller.
right. And
Let's sell
compared
that.
to like the other stories, like this
Yeah.
wizard comes and turns people into
Mm-hmm.
paintings, and they're like, I'm wearing this jumpsuit and I can't take it off. It's
Yep.
like
Mm-hmm. It's
they're
like
not the same. Yeah, it's bizarre. I think I will eventually play it. Just
you
because
could do it for a stream.
I think, yeah, I think I might. Yeah. Well, there are Zelda games that are not canon, and they are played on something known as the CDI. It's like a console, but it's not. Um, I have to like look it up, but
Okay.
the games are so bad. Like really, really bad. The graphics too, and the controls are jank, and it's just like
Like, is
it
it
is pretty.
official? Like,
It's
official
not canon.
games? Oh,
Mm-mm,
okay.
nope. It's not official or anything, so it's just like a janky. It's like Timu Zelda. Like it's
Oh,
just yeah,
heck
but
yeah.
it's entertaining. I watched Game Grumps play it. They got a YouTube channel. They do Let's Plays and stuff, but
Yeah, I know Game Grumps. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you know Game Grumps. So they
Mm.
played it and I was like, "What is this Satan's spawn of a game?" And there's
You're like, I
multiple.
have to play.
I Because I'm like, well, if I gotta play, I should like get a CDI. Because I think you use like this weird controller. It's wild. Let me pull it up really quick, just because I'm like, what the? Also, what timeline? While I look it up, what timeline do you want me to do next?
Hmm. Well, since the kids yearn for the mines, I want to find out if Link yearns for the mines.
Yeah, as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Here, let me just pull up. I'm just gonna share my screen because this is crazy. Hold on.
Oh, let me
So
watch.
these are the Zelda CDI games. I just want to show you some pictures.
Oh my god, I've seen that as a
Yeah.
meme.
Oh,
That
really?
guy.
This one?
Yeah. Yeah, that guy in a meme.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, you
Yeah.
can play them on PC now. So, yeah, these are the games. The Wand of Gamelon. Oh, so that's right. The CDI was made by Philips. You know Philips, like they make all sorts of
Yeah.
what they got light bulbs, they got everything. So
Mm.
CD compact disc interactive. So the CDI, it looks almost like a it looks almost like a DVD player, but like with a controller.
Wow. What the?
It's it is one of the most bizarre releases in video games. It's yeah, it released in the 90s. It was out for 8 years.
Oh.
So it lasted a while, but yeah. Oh God, even they got a Discman. Oh my God. But yeah, so this was a thing, and that's where those Zelda games came from. There are oh God. I thought there was only three. Looks like oh no, this is NES. Okay, yeah. So there are three.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
the Faces of Evil, the Wand of Gamelon, and Zelda's Adventure. Oh my God. Yeah, it's pretty special. It's a pretty special moment in the Zelda timeline. We can talk about it at some point. I'll see
Yeah,
if
yeah, you should.
if I
We
can
should.
squeeze it in. That's kind of
Mm.
part of the lore as like an asterisk. Um, but yeah, thank you guys for
Yes.
yeah, tuning in. I know this was a long episode. Sorry. There's a lot to
No, it's
cover.
good. You got to get
Yeah,
all the information out. It's a
it's
podcast,
true.
you know?
It's true. Yeah, yeah. So, next week we're going to talk about children. Will that get us demonetized? We're going to talk about children in the mines. It
Yeah.
should just be the thumbnail should just be Link with a pickaxe, like, yay!
Yeah, like woo!
Did I tell you that I tried? I visited my friend. I hadn't met her baby yet. And one of the jokes I made, I was like, oh yeah, children yearn for the mine. So I try to find like a pickaxe toy for her. Turns out that's not a toy for babies, which is super lame.
There is a the Minecraft pickaxe.
Yeah, but I wanted it to be realistic.
Oh.
Like a real, like looking like a genuine pickaxe.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
they didn't have, well, some they had, but this was like a baby. So I was like,
Oh,
this looks soft, but I'm not sure. I was like, I'm not gonna get it. But hey, that's a good toy idea for you guys. I would buy it.
Christmas is around the corner.
Pickaxe for babies. Go ahead, go ahead and do it.
All right. Okay.
Oh my God.
Bye,
And on
guys.
that note,